Hey guys, welcome to week 2. So if you haven't already, please read the first 2 documents I sent to you. And guys, don't worry if this doesn't make sense to you. Everyone understands things differently. For me, when I started this journey years ago, discovering the science behind why I was doing what I was doing when I was meditating really just kind of linked things together, and everything just started to make sense to me. So that's why I'm sharing this with you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make more sense to you. Okay, so if the science behind it is just confusing and it's not registering with you at all, then just don't worry about it. Okay, and just focus on the meditations and breathing and feeling and bringing your awareness back to the present. That's all you have to worry about. Okay, so let's get started. So when we meditate, we're trying to slow down our brainwaves. So we've already talked about that. When we wake up in the morning, our brainwaves are in theta, and automatically we start to think and they start to rise and get higher. So we want to try and bring them down to theta, and that is a suggestible state. So as we said before, we can't change our subconscious mind from the conscious. So when we're getting into theta, we're accessing our subconscious mind, and that's where we can start to reprogram our brain. So that's really what we're trying to do here in relaxation, with the body scans, with the breathing, with everything that we're doing here. So that's why first thing in the morning and just before bed are great times to meditate, because our brain waves are automatically lower, okay? So Newtonian physics, the classical physics, is a study of the large, like very big objects. And I don't know if you remember or I don't know how old you are, but there's this model of an atom where there's a nucleus and there's an electron floating around the atom in a uniform fashion. And what happened was they realized that that can't describe, although it can describe larger objects, it can't describe subatomic or really, really small objects. So what Newtonian physics did is amazing. It allowed us to study like the distance, so we can figure out how long it's going to take us when we're in a plane. We can figure out distance, and we can figure out really large distances, like the distance to planets and how fast planets are moving and everything. But when they broke that down, the same mathematics didn't work in the subatomic world. So quantum physics is the study of subatomic particles. And what Einstein and Planck discovered is that when they tried to study electrons, they behaved differently when they were observing them and when they weren't observing them. So when they observed an electron, it behaved as a particle. But when they weren't observing it, it moved back into a wave form or a cloud form where all possibilities could exist. So you can imagine a nucleus as the size of like a Golf or like a Volkswagen car. And if you want to imagine the electron cloud as big as 3 Irelands. So the electron cloud is this huge space of area where the electron could potentially exist as a particle. I hope that makes sense. So it's called the observer effect, and it's the first time ever that it was studied and shown that outside observation had an influence on physical objects, on matter. So in our 3-dimensional physical reality, we use our senses, our sight, our smell, our hearing. But in quantum reality, so quantum is the very, very tiny, everything is energy. So if you think about it, we accept that there's X-rays, there's Bluetooth, we can't see it. We accept that there's Wi-Fi, we can't see it. But it's really, really difficult for people to understand that our thoughts and our emotions carry a wavelength as well, and they can also affect physical reality. So the quantum field is an invisible field of energy that connects and organizes everything, okay? And quantum physicists have been studying this for almost 100 years or something like that. So if you think of the Big Bang, when you think of an explosion here in the physical world, it's chaos, right? But if you think of the Big Bang, it was chaos and then order ensued. So the unified field has everything to do with connection with energy, with frequency, and with awareness. So the unified field, or the quantum field, is this invisible field of energy that governs and controls everything. So we said that everything in this physical reality, or everything, is vibrating, simply vibrating at different frequencies. So the laptop, the phone, me, the coffee in the cup, the steam coming out of the cup, it's all just vibrating at different frequencies. Our thoughts, our emotions, they're also vibrating at different frequencies. And everything, when it vibrates, it's giving off energy and it's sending out electromagnetic signals at different frequencies. So last week we talked about how 70% of people are living by the hormone of stress. So when we're in the fight or flight mode, fight, flight, or hide, our brain and our body are aroused. The chemicals of stress heighten our senses, which connects us to this 3D physical world, and we become more materialists, and we perceive everything in 3D reality, and we feel more separate from everything and everyone. So when we feel the chemicals of stress, it's more difficult for us to feel that we are connected and feel into the energetic realm. So the unified field then can only be accessed beyond our senses, and that's what we do in our meditations. So matter trying to change matter or affect matter will always take time. So if you think about it, me, Laurel, I'm one point of consciousness. I'm trying to get, say, to my car, another point of consciousness. So I can think about past experiences of moving, getting to places, and I can then estimate how long it's going to take me to get to my car. So in order for me to move through space from me to my car, I know it's going to take me time. And again, I can predict that based on the past. So it's the same with our dreams. I'm here and I see my dreams over there. Most people try and predict when their dreams are going to come true based on their past experiences of linear time. They have to move their body through space, through time, from matter to matter, and that takes time. But if reality is both a particle and a wave, it's both matter and energy, and we're living in this 3D reality where our attention is on everything material, living in the familiar past or the predictable future where everything is known, it would make sense, again, that we must get beyond the known into the void, the sweet spot of the present moment, to the unknown where all possibilities exist. Okay? It's like that electron cloud. When we observe, when we bring our attention, when we focus our energy, because where our attention is where our energy goes, that's where the particle, or that's where the dream will exist. But at any possibility, there's infinite possibilities within that cloud that can exist. So if all possibilities exist in the quantum field, how do we attract them to us? So all potentials exist as electromagnetic frequencies in the field. And most people try to create from a place of lack. We think that we don't have something, that we want it, and we try and create it from that place of lack. But it's like we're broadcasting on a wrong radio station. The frequencies don't match up. So the energy of suffering cannot create wealth because it's not consistent with that frequency. So remember, when we're living under the hormone of stress, our brain starts to fire incoherently, like a lightning storm, giving off mixed signals, and our heart is beating inconsistently. That fight or flight is sending blood to the extremities, but our body's trying to slow it down. So if you don't really remember this, just refer to the last document to refresh your mind. But the stress hormone causes our brain and our heart to fire and beat incoherently. And we said, remember, that the unified field is all about connection, oneness, cohesiveness, coherence. So how can we connect to something that's coherent if we're incoherent? It's the wrong frequency. So in order to connect to the field, we must get our brain and our heart aligned and in coherence so that we can produce and broadcast those electromagnetic frequencies that match in the field. Our heart is our connection to the unified field. It's where divinity and oneness begin. There have been multiple studies done on this, multiple studies all over the world done on the heart and the electromagnetic frequency that it produces. So once your brain becomes coherent and you start to open your heart, it's like dropping a petal in a calm lake or a pond. And that resonance, it creates a ripple. That magnetic field can go out to like 3 meters wide past your body. This has been measured. And now we're becoming more energy and less material. So more energy and less matter, more wave and less particle. And once the energy starts to make it here, it can start to carry information, a thought or an intention, because it matches the electrical charge in the field. And it matches the energy of your healing or of your new dream. So in order to create brain and heart coherence, we need to raise our emotional states. So you can think of your feelings or your emotions as a magnetic charge in the field, and your thoughts are the electrical charge in the field. Your thought sends the signal out, and your emotion brings it back to you. But you must feel as though you already have that which you desire, right? We cannot create from a place of lack. We can only create from a place of gratitude and a feeling that we already have it. Like attracts like. So when you feel as though you already have what you desire, when you feel grateful for that, and then you lay an intention or a thought on that magnetic charge, there's a vibrational match between what you're broadcasting out and the possibility in the field. You're connected to everything material through energy. And you can bring that potential in the field back to you, and we collapse space and time. You are a vortex of creation. So feel that gratitude now, and you know that every potential, any possibility exists, and be grateful that you already have it. But the thing is, we have to monitor what we're broadcasting on a daily basis, every moment of every day. Okay, we can sit in our meditation, we can calm our brain waves, we can open up our hearts, we can set that intention and feel connected and oneness. But then we go into work, we get road rage, we get mad at a coworker, we come home, we yell at our partners, and we're going back to the past, we're going back to the predictable past and those hormones that we've been living by our whole lives. So we have to monitor daily our thoughts, our feelings, and how we're acting in our everyday lives. It's not easy, because if it was, everyone would be doing it. And it's not easy, obviously, to keep your emotional state elevated, but the more you do it, the more it becomes natural. And I'm not saying that I'm amazing at it and I'm able to keep my emotions raised all the time. Especially during pregnancy with hormonal changes. I suffer from PMDD, so before my period, I'm just like a completely different person. I don't know if anyone suffers with PMDD, but it's quite a journey. But if you can get into your meditation and strengthen those new neural networks, it's hard, especially if you're going through something, especially if your hormones are playing a part. Because it's harder to sit in your meditation because your mind is going, right? So I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's always gonna be like this, it's gonna be like this, right? But the more you do it, those new neural networks are there. And even if you dump out of it, it'll be easier to go back. So, and once you do find this sweet spot and start to notice the changes, you'll wanna go back to that new path because it's just so beautiful. So this is why we're doing this practice. I hope it makes a little bit of sense. If not, don't worry about it. Stick with the meditations and just worry about coming into the present moment, feeling good, and trying to find that space in between the thoughts. So if you have any questions, please reach out. You can message me, and have a beautiful day, and I will see you on Wednesday.